them on silence. Can we all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our first item here is to approve the minutes that were mailed on the November 10th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as mailed?
Move it.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Discussion and approval of the claims.
I have something to say about that. In the last meeting, when I brought up the claims that the auditor's office were believing to not be in compliance with our policy, those documents were on their way already, and to my understanding, that's not known to the auditor's office when they are on their way. Today, we have an item lacking documentation that is also on its way, from my understanding. But I don't believe the auditor's office has knowledge of that, and so I wondered if the auditor had any preference of how that process would be handled.
We're just visiting about that. The way prior is that the claims, our duty is to provide them to the Board of Supervisors to approve them. And what I've done previously, since I think the year 2000, is that the board agreed that we should flag those claims and bring them in here and hear the final arbiter on that. But we might need to talk a little bit more about that, since the code has changed a little bit as far as our ability to ask for that documentation. So that's, I want to proceed. I'll get a county attorney's opinion on what we can do in that process.
What do you mean by that? You want more documentation, or what?
No, the way that we've been doing it now is we audit according to whatever we need state law, but we also audit to the county's policies on documentation for a claim. That's what we do now. And then we give it to the supervisor's office, and they call for this claim. So I think that is something that we now are able to do, and I think that's what we should be doing.
And you're talking about it as far as reviewing the vouchers and the bills.
Right.
And I thought you still did that besides us. I thought we did that, and also your office still reviewed those vouchers and identified any thing in them that might not be supplied by the various departments.
My understanding is that the process now is that we look to see if it meets the standards to what your policy, what we believe your policy is. And we give them to the supervisor's office for them to call and try to get that documentation. I think we have the ability to do that, and it would be more efficient for us to do that.
So that process is still going on, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding.
Right.
I thought you were doing that already.
We're not, when that documentation is asked for, we're not necessarily, I'm not in the loop on it, as far as whether we're getting that documentation back.
You mean on ones that aren't in when you review it?
So what you want is that if when your office goes through the documentation, and if there's something that's deficient, then it's flagged by your office, right?
Right.
And then it's given to our office for us to go through those documentations.
And I think
and so that it is our responsibility then to see if the documentation is brought to our office before we make the approval of the claim.
And I think
But you're saying that you don't know that if that's happening by yourself personally.
I believe that it's happening. It's just not very efficient, and I'm not getting. When Mr. Ung asked last week if the documentation had been provided, I wasn't aware of that. And that's what I'm just saying, is that it would be much more efficient for us to make the call. If it doesn't come, we can tell the board, the documentation isn't there. And I believe that we have the ability or the authority to do that.
But typically, since that's, hasn't been happening, you would be able to call Karen, because Karen would know if it's en
And
route.
Jean does call on Tuesday mornings to make sure everything is
Okay.
together.
Seems to me, in the business world, when you file a claim, you have documentation to ask for that money. And if there's no receipt or voucher or whatever, you don't file it. You wait until you get it.
We have a problem, like with credit cards. If it's on the credit card and they haven't got the receipt yet, if they don't send it through, then we pay interest on the credit card if we don't pay it before let's say the first of the month. And that happens frequently.
See, and it's almost a double receipt then. I mean, because a credit card is a receipt of sorts, but it's not detailed.
But it's not a detailed receipt.
So, you know, what I look for is every once in a while, someone will lose a receipt, but it is a backup on the credit card. If there's a consistent problem or it's in direct violation of a county policy, then yeah, we have held the claims previously. But every once in a while, someone loses a receipt. And I generally always approve it because I have history with that person. No, 95% or 99% of the time it's in there. It's just, it blew out of the car or,
Right, or something.
you know, we're human and no one's perfect.
Is there not already a section for time-sensitive claims? Because my concern with, for instance, this one from HR, lacking travel documentation, it does exist to my understanding, but to the public eye, passing these claims that seem to be out of compliance, it would seem to me that if there's ever a question brought up at a public meeting that dealt with how the claims are audited, that the auditor himself should be knowledgeable of those particular claims.
Well, to me, he is. I mean,
Yeah.
because if he goes through them before we get our hands on them, he identifies where there's a problem, and then our office goes through that and also has the responsibility of following up to the department that may have a problem with it, and then they find that documentation, then his office is notified that the documentation is now here and it's legitimate. So I don't understand the problem.
But obviously, if, you know, Jean is following up on it, but you're not finding out about it for, I don't know if that's where the breakdown is, but we always, you know, want to make sure that everyone.
Because I asked about this
knows what's
claim I think it was yesterday, and to see if there was documentation. The documentation had been found, but it was still identified on here to the public eye that no travel form was available, but it had been found.
Well, the credit card thing doesn't make any sense to me because we meet 4 times a month. If a credit card bill comes in, it should never be over 7 days from the time we got it. So there should never be a late fee on any credit card.
Well, if you hold it up because of a lack of a receipt to back up the credit card though, depending on where it comes in the month, you could have an interest charge, the way I look at it.
It's possible, depending on the timing.
Yeah, I mean,
Extreme case, it
yeah.
could be that. But just to go back, is that I think it's just much more efficient for our office just to do the process and present the claims. And that's what I believe that our duty is to do. And if you want me to, I'll ask for an opinion from the county attorney.
Well, I think part of the reason why it's set up the way it is that it's clear that the ultimate responsibility for determining the sufficiency of the claim is on the Board of Supervisors. And the auditor's role in the past has kind of been more of a pre-audit or seeing if it fits with the county policy, but it's ultimately up to the board to determine whether to approve the claim or not. Now, Pat is right that there were some additional duties that were placed on the auditor with legislation in the last couple of years. We haven't looked at the issue of whether that specifically affects the process of the claims, but I don't think that the ultimate responsibility being on the board has changed.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then I would want a clarification on, and you do too probably, on how your duties are different than they have been.
Right, in the future. Well, I think the communication is there. Our office is communicating with the auditor's office that if something is awry here or something is missing, that it is found and it's taken care of, but it's just not taken off of the information that's sent out to the public. And that certainly was the case with this particular case here. So I think it is a breakdown in communication, but I don't think it's in our office.
The other thing, Matt, you have the right, if you see a claim, whether there's a receipt or not, that doesn't matter. If you see a claim that you question, you can pull that claim.
Correct.
And let's say it's something the auditor submitted, and question the auditor about the validity of that claim. And that's part of your job.
My concern was just the last 2 weeks, the supporting documentation was made known to, I guess, the board office before the county attorney, or county auditor's office, and it just seems logical to me for it to come through the auditor's office and obviously get to the board for final approval in any case, and I'm not disputing that, but I just wanted to open that up and see what your thoughts are on that.
Well, from my estimation with this discussion here, I think the communication is there, because if it's identified first by his office and notified our office, then we have the responsibility of making sure that documentation is going to be there, or it's going to eventually show up at some point in time, or that documentation or voucher is pulled before we approve the claims. So I think the communication is there.
And it's actually kind of a redundant, I hate to even bring that up, but we do have two offices looking at the claims, so, and the documentation.
Anyway, we do have a motion on the floor to approve the, no, we don't have a motion, but I'd like to approve the claims as presented, or,
I'll move.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. I think we'll jump to the item number 8, which is a time-sensitive agenda item. That is a public hearing on the sale of a piece of property. It's now 10:15, and we do have a sale of property. It's a public hearing on the sale of this piece of property. It's 228300 at 1511 Wabash Street. Is there anybody in the audience that's here to disapprove or approve of the sale? If not, I'd entertain a motion to
Move the hearing be closed.
close. Okay.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Is there anyone in the audience to bid on this piece of property? Would you give your name, please, and the amount that you're bidding?
Dave Watterson,
Okay, Mr. Watterson. And your bid is
I'll bid the minimum bid.
minimum bid $256. Is there anyone else to bid on the property in the audience? If not, I'd entertain a motion that Mr. Waterman be given the
Move it.
property.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to item number 3, which is human resources, approval of the memorandum of personnel transactions. I'll pass that around for signatures. We need a motion.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item 4 is the county auditor, the receiving of the Class B beer permit for Chet's Mobile Market.
Move it.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item 5 is the Sheriff, Dave Drew. We have received the County Sheriff Civil Division's first quarter report on the date reported.
Move it. Move to accept.
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 6, planning and zoning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I've got two companion issues this morning. The first one is a petition for rezoning from Mr. Ronald and Mrs. Linda Clausen, who reside at 1543 155th Street. They want to take a 26 acre parcel, subdivide it into 3 lots, but to do so, create the residential density, the potential that exists, we require rezoning. So I'm asking your board refer the rezoning petition from an ag preservation zoning district to a agricultural estate zoning district to allow the additional residential density. Refer that to the zoning commission for public hearing, which will occur next Monday. And we'll probably be back with you within 2 weeks regarding the outcome of that hearing. The Clausens presently reside on that 26 acre parcel. They will continue to do so on one of the lots. They also want to sell a piece of ground which will have a driveway access point off of the east side of Buchanan Avenue. Purchase agreement is in existence, and the third lot will consist of a location just for the ag, row crop, ag ground. We've got hard surfacing. We're going to require a paving agreement for 155th. As well as whatever else might come out of that public hearing. So the first thing I'm asking for is your referral on the rezoning matter to the zoning commission for that particular public hearing.
Is there a motion?
Move to refer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
I'm going to abstain. I don't know whether I should or not, but this is a relation, and I am within 1,000 feet, so I'm just going to abstain.
Okay. Good.
Supervisor Clausen owns a piece of property to the north, approximately 200 feet from the northern boundary of this particular rezoning.
Okay. All right. Okay, item B, referral of, was that? Or
This is a companion, the subdivision part of this, a separate public hearing will be held next Monday after your referral to the zoning commission for that public hearing and recommendation.
Move to refer.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
I'd also like the secretary to get into the minutes the fact that we will have 2 zoning commission members which own property, whether the family or the zoning commissioner owns property within 1,000 feet of this subdivision in this rezoning effort. So they'll be making a recommendation. We will disclose that fact to all parties at the public hearing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're going to need those parties to vote, or otherwise we will not have a quorum to vote on the matter. And we'll discuss this issue with the county attorney and take what other steps necessary to get this process through our procedures.
Okay.
Pat, can you see something ends up in the minutes to that effect? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, rural economic development. Mr. Gleiser.
Morning, Supervisors. Just here this morning, wanting your approval for some letters of support coming out of county offices, my department, secondary roads, and your office in support of a federal DOT Tiger grant for the city of Ottawa to make some improvements on Old 75. I know our county engineer has worked collaboratively with the city of Ottawa on some road improvements in that area, and from an economic development standpoint, I think that this supports the region in terms of sound infrastructure and providing a good road system for businesses and residents.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
There's not money tied to this letter of support.
No, it's-
As there often is.
Okay, those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
And then the second thing that I wanted to do this morning was just provide you with an update. I have some press releases here. I sent out a press release this morning with regards to our employee contribution campaign with United Way. This year we were able to raise $20,709 from our county employees to contribute to United Way of Siouxland, which was an increase in the average of the last 4 years. Also want to publicly thank and recognize the local businesses that participated in donating some items, products, and services to help use as an incentive in our employee raffle, which would be Becky's Massage and Body Therapy, Main Street Theaters, Promenade Cinema, and Staples. We concluded the health at the county health fair, our drawing, and so just wanted to alert you to the fact that we did pretty well this year, and appreciate all the contributions that the employees and supervisors have made personally.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and we appreciate you heading up the campaign this year and conducting a successful one for the county, so we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yep, my pleasure.
You could probably do it every year.
Oh.
You're so good at it.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
I just
Thank you anyway, David.
You're welcome.
Good report. Item number 8, we'll go on to item B, which is a tax suspension.
Move suspension for CM.
For a second.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Item C, another tax suspension.
Move it.
Second.
KL. Discussion, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Item D, another tax suspension for JS.
Jackie Smith.
No.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item 9, Mark Neary, you have floor. Considering approval of the contract bids.
Yes, this morning we have the approval contract bid for improvements to give us a bypass of the Bridge P6. This is the bridge on 220th Street. This is improving the dirt road portion of 220th to allow access to residents and acreage that are landlocked by a posted bridge.
Move it.
It is a motion, is there a second to it?
Second.
Discussion, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Signature locations.
Sign for you, Mark.
Mark, you got the same phone call I did on Buchanan?
Yes. We sent our operator out and heading Stale Lake to address the issue. I think it was a relatively new employee in that area, and we sent him out to address and get the rest of that snow brushed off. I sent Steve Thomas out. Steve did find some deficiencies in the way the road had been maintained, so he instructed the employee accordingly.
Good, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, sometimes with all the new staff we're getting, it's nice to have new blood, but they also need to learn their territories
You bet.
and techniques. This is early snow for us. So.
Learning curve.
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
thanks, Mark. Item number 10 is the Regina Smith, RML. Good morning, Regina.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Stay close to the microphone.
All right.
You
Is this about cable TV?
It's not.
Good.
This is about a PC and master control. As you're aware, that there are some additional cameras that have been installed in the holding areas, and there's a viewing station in master control to view these cameras. The existing PC that is there is not working with the software that comes along with the new storage equipment. And so what you have before you is a proposal to replace that PC so that it will work with the new software. Any questions?
Have we got more of these coming along?
Well, there is a desire to add a viewing station in the booking area. And I have not seen a proposal, monetary proposal for that yet.
Because how close are you to being totally spent?
We're actually doing really good on budget. We are not exceeding our budget. In fact, I did the numbers today. With this change, there will still be approximately $5,500 left in the current budget.
Okay. Good.
Move it.
We do,
Is there a second before you?
Second.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
but we do need the monitor that's in the booking area to keep an eye on temporary, and that's very critical for us.
Is that included in the price of this, or is that a different item?
That's another item that's gonna have to be taken care
Why wouldn't we include that in
That
this?
That would be an additional item. As you remember, we wanted to make sure we were under budget.
Right.
And so we tried to put the highest priority items in, and
Okay,
the booking
this-
monitor
this is
system
the high
is high
priority.
priority, but it was not in that original bid.
Okay.
And this new item is how much ballpark?
I don't have any information on that yet, but as soon as I do, my intention is to present it to you here at the board, so you know what the amount is, what the options are, and what the cost is, and our goal, of course, will be to remain under budget.
Good. All right, any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, got your camera.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, Regina. You bet. Okay, item number 11 is hearing of any individual or group wishing to make a presentation to the board on an item not on the agenda. Mr.
Hi.
McCown.
I do have a concern I wanted to bring to the board's attention regarding an email we all received, I believe, from the sheriff regarding emergency management committee or commission meetings. To my understanding, our bylaws and the most recent one that I received from the auditor's office was signed in 1981, has, and I'm new here, I've been here a week, but the county sheriff has been here 2 years, and to his knowledge, has not been at any of these meetings, and previous Sheriff Amick has not been at a meeting for the decade or so he was in office. My concern is if there was an issue with a reimbursement for disaster funds, if we were to be audited by the state, I don't believe there are any meeting minutes regarding officers, chairman, secretary, and I'd certainly be open to the auditor's office if they can find such minutes. But I also thought it would be good to bring up the sheriff if he had anything to add on these, since according to Iowa Code 29, and I did bring copies, the sheriff is required to be on this commission along with a member of the Board of Supervisors and a representative from the cities within the county. And it's just a concern to me that this commission does not seem to have met, and I'm also wondering on the larger issue of how we audit minutes on the various commissions that we all are liaisons to. I'm wondering if there is a process for that, but specifically, my concern is to stay within Iowa Code, because it is certainly the law for this Emergency Management Commission to have regular enough meetings to elect officials and to provide a budget by February 28th.
Sheriff?
Well, it was brought to my attention under 29C that there's a commission to be formulated from the mayors of each town, one member from the board, and myself. And, there has to be a budget prepared. And I think somewhere along the line, we have an E911 commission for members of the county and a board representative. Some of you may have sat on that before. My suggestion is that when that committee meets, that this committee be formulated and do the same thing. I've been in office just 2 years this January, and we have not met, and there would have been a couple budgets that would have been passed. And according to this, it appears that this is to be vetted amongst the commission. Now, there is I did find that there was maybe a joint committee or some bylaws for an administrative committee, and that was to be myself, Dave Amick as the mayor, and Mr. Boykin. And I checked also with Mr. Amick, and he's never been part of a meeting, or I'm not sure, it would be just you. So I don't know, there hasn't been no meetings. And I'm concerned about how we get things done, because if we are audited, there has to be some answers of how this process is being done. And so in no way, going after Gary Brown. What I'm going after is the process is not being done in accordance with this chapter. And if I'm supposed to sit on it as well as a member from here and different mayors, I think that somewhere along the line we're dropping the ball, and I don't want the county to have any issues that may arise from this. So,
Well,
that's what I'd like to
Dave,
get.
who is to call these meetings?
I would assume Mr. Brown.
Does it spell that out?
Yeah, somewhere in here in 29C, or the commission. Under 29C9, Mike talked about some of the rules. County board supervisors, city council, and sheriff in each county shall cooperate with the department and establish a commission to carry out the provisions of this chapter. So if you go back in 1981, there was this commission, and this law was in effect. Somewhere along the line, this commission has not been getting together, checking with Sheriff Amick. It was never when he was in office either.
See, that's my question. Whose job is it to call these meetings?
Well, I would think the emergency management director would be the one who would, just as it is the under the E911 commission, the head of it, which is Glenn Sedeby, would have us meet, I believe, every other month. And that commission listens to what he has to say, his budget, and all the things that are approved would be the same thing as the appointee of this group, which would be Gary Brown.
Does the commission itself elect the coordinator as well as the chair, vice chair, and secretary?
Yes, I believe, yep, the commission, and there would be somebody that would take notes. I think, I'm trying to remember who E911 is. I think it's the mayor of Cushing is the head of that commission. My thoughts, and what I sent to you in the email, is that I just want to be in compliance and I want to make sure that we're getting this done. And number two is that this group meets so that a budget can be prepared and signed. If he's receiving items from the state or federal government, somehow something's being signed off, and I'm not sure how.
Well, I think that, we can't do anything about the past, but I think we can do something going forward. And I know that Mr. Brown is currently doing some research on this, and we're going to get you some information, Sheriff. And we can go forward with how we proceed in the future.
Yeah, that's.
I know that there are commissions that of the board that meet. Some of them don't meet for some reason, but that happens. But he's going to be getting together with you soon, and then we'll be coming back with the process here.
That works for me.
Can I give you my email? I never get emails from you guys, so I don't know if you have a wrong, we always saying the emails, but I just want to give you that because I don't know where they're going.
I'm not sure.
But if you could get me on your list,
We go off of Sheriff.
and sometimes my county emails really go to someone in district health, so if you would, they do.
Yeah.
So if you could use that email, that would be great.
I think we just went off of what was when you
Right.
hit the tab
I
on
know.
Woodbury County Board.
I have never, so I didn't get the email.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, Sheriff, I'd like to thank you for this.
Oh, glad you got it.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Oh, and
I
I'd like
have
to
one more
thank
thing.
Jackie
Yes.
for getting this opinion from the county attorney to the board. It's dealing with the TV.
Oh, yes.
You got a copy?
Yeah, yeah.
And I read in the paper you're gonna put up an antenna,
Well, if-
unless it came on an email and I, did you let us know and I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
get it, or?
We're got Mike working on getting us an antenna either from Best Buy or Wintronics, who's ever the cheapest, and I think you can get probably a dozen or so channels, so we'll see if that hopefully suffices for the day.
Coat hanger do the same.
Yeah, it may.
Very good, Chief.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, can we put the Management Commission on the agenda for next week?
Management Commission?
Yeah. The matters we just discussed.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Okay. At
Anything
least until
else?
the county attorney can assure us that we're in compliance with
Absolutely.
Iowa code. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting then.
Move it.
Okay, thank you.
What's a one best one do? Oh, it's fast, these are, they're not real fast.
Bluey.
Or else sometimes you just go.
I know I got this, I thought this was blue this morning.
Would you be available to answer a couple of questions about the emergency management commission? Okay, I'm gonna run up here at the sheriff's reporting sprints across the street, but will you be around? Okay, perfect. Also, my name's Kaya, I'm with Riverman, I'm on Channel 4. Yep. And everyone, this is Tiffany, she's our newest Channel 4 reporter.
Hi, Tiffany.
I think she might get stuck with you guys sometime, so.
It's Jasmine Day. Stick my picture, stick the
Oh,
rest.
she's like, yeah.
And you get a Photoshop app on there.
That's for real.
This one, I was taking.
Those are the original letters there for me to sign?
Yeah, this one. And then I'll sign this one from the department.
Did you get more information in this one?
Was that?
Did you get any more information in this one?
I looked up and see, and that seemed to be the relevant.
I thought that, is this group that you're talking about, is that the thing that they meet up at Climbing Hill?
That's E911.
Because, well, when I first got hired, I went up there and introduced myself because I heard that all the mayors were going to be there. So they called it the 911 in the mayor's meeting.
Yeah, no, that's not this. It seems to me this should have been like one.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. Nice handwriting. Wish I had been that sick.
My handwriting is nice? I don't think so, David.
Oh, it feels so special. All right, thanks. Somebody, I heard murmurs about, you know, that was sort of suggested. Somebody said that, more people do this, or
All right. Thank you, folks. Have a
Welcome.
good day.
You-
it was a city. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Well, right, okay, but that's not you guys, it's the city. Okay. Cool, okay, well, I just thought I would
sir.
It's just going on the issue that has to deal with the sheriff.
What's that?
Who's in charge of the local emergency management commission? Somebody has to call the meeting.
I haven't looked at that, so depends on what,
Unless it's before this.
somebody's got to call it, and I would imagine it's the coordinator. These coordinators point. I would imagine that the coordinator is the one who's partly responsible. Call meetings, should set them up. I don't know. Not that I have. No, you're supposed to meet on a regular basis, provide guidance and direction. You're supposed to update you as to what's occurring in emergency management. As boring as it may be. Dave, I don't know who told him that.
Why not take off your shirt?
I think he did, right?
No, just somebody told you.
No, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
And this thing with the claims was brought up by Mr. Robert.
Common sense, I think, would be right over somewhere.
I think you're good, yeah. Thank you.
Hey Pat, sorry, just a second.
Yes, sir.
Just to confirm what Matthew, just told me, he said he checked with you and that you're kind of the arbiter, the person that you know that this commission hasn't met since 19. There's no minutes, no any indication that they were.
Not that I'm aware of, and I just talked to Dennis about it, and he said that. Ask Dennis. There's Dennis right there.
Okay, I just, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not aware of it. And I haven't had a chance to review it yet. I imagine if there's a requirement, we're supposed to be provided. I haven't looked at it. Scott said half those people are dead.
I'm gonna try to see if I can do one single day.
Where'd you get that?
You don't have that? The bylaws?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
No, that was given to Dennis by Gary Brown. Dennis gave it to me.
I want to see why I'm on here.
Okay, yeah. You're mayor.
Do you have the first page?
Where did this come from?
Gary Brown gave it to Dennis. Dennis gave it to me, forwarded it to me, and I forwarded it to Mr. Drew last night because he wasn't aware that it existed.
I don't think anybody did. Mayor of Sioux City, George Cole.
I couldn't even read that. So that's.
Yep. city council matter.